What if I told you the second you stopped chasing her was the moment she started chasing you? Not because you played a game, not because you manipulated her, but because you finally remembered who the hell you are. Let that sink in. You see, she was never attracted to the guy who begged, never drawn to the man who needed her more than he needed his own mission. She didn't lose interest because you weren't enough. She lost interest because you stopped being you, the focused, grounded, detached version of you that doesn't orbit her world. That's what changed everything. You see, the most magnetic force in this world isn't charm, it's discipline, it's presence. It's the man who walks with purpose, who doesn't flinch, doesn't explain, doesn't ask for love, because he is love. He's power, he's certainty, he's direction. When you chase her, she runs. When you chase purpose, she watches. When you disappear into your craft, your vision, your evolution, she starts noticing. That's the paradox. That's the game she doesn't even know she's playing. This is the moment you stop asking, why isn't she texting? And start asking, why am I wasting mental energy on someone who doesn't see my value yet? That's the first step of the shift. Because right now, you're standing at the crossroads. One road keeps you checking your phone, the other has you checking your progress. One keeps you tied to her moods, her responses, her validation. The other makes you a man she can't reach unless you choose to let her. And here's the truth, nobody told you. Women don't chase men who beg. They chase men who build. They chase the ones they almost had but lost the purpose. So why does she start chasing after you let go? Because detachment confuses her. Because your silence is a void she can't stand. Because your discipline reminds her of what she couldn't handle when it was right in front of her. That's not arrogance, that's masculine energy. The moment you stop orbiting her, her world goes dark. And guess what? In that silence, in that space, in that echo, she starts hearing your absence louder than she ever heard your words. And she starts remembering the loyalty, the presence, the warmth she took for granted. But now, it's cold. And nothing scares a woman more than a man who used to love her deeply and now loves himself more. Let me break this down even deeper. She doesn't start chasing because you ignore her. She starts chasing because you evolve without her. She sees it in your eyes. She hears it in your tone. She watches it in your silence. Not because you're trying to punish her, but because you stopped making her your priority. You made your future your obsession, and that's when everything shifts. That's stoicism, my brother. That's the mindset of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca. They didn't teach revenge, they taught self-mastery. And in this world, there's nothing more attractive than a man who no longer needs to be chosen, because he's already chosen himself. Let me say that again. She doesn't start chasing because you're playing games. She starts chasing because you became unavailable to her chaos. She used to trigger you, now you're indifferent. She used to test you, now you're unmoved. She used to run your mind, now you run your life. Let her feel the distance. Let her wonder why you're not checking in. Let her feel the tension of your absence, because that's when it happens. That's when she starts chasing. She wants the man you used to be. But by the time she realizes it, you've evolved into someone she'll never reach again. Part 2. Your silence is her obsession. She used to ignore your messages. Now she's watching your stories. Twice. You used to wait for her texts. Now she's wondering why you don't even check her page. Let me tell you why. Your silence is louder than any words you ever spoke. When you were chasing, she was retreating. When you were calling, she was ignoring. When you were vulnerable, she was bored. But the second you go quiet, you flip the dynamic, and now she's thinking about you non-stop. It doesn't make sense to her. It's messing with her sense of control. And that's when it begins. She starts thinking, why isn't he calling? Has he moved on? Is he with someone else? Did he really stop caring? You didn't beg, you didn't block her, you didn't curse her out, you just disappeared into progress, and that silence is her worst nightmare. Understand this. Women don't fear rejection, they fear irrelevance. And your silence forces them to confront something terrifying. They're no longer the center of your world. You didn't ghost her to punish her. You walked away because chasing her started to feel like chasing your own destruction. You didn't stop loving her. You stopped loving the version of yourself that forgot who he was just to hold on to her. This isn't revenge. This is realignment. This is stoicism in motion. Seneca said, Sometimes even to live is an act of courage, and in your case, to live without her approval, without closure, without needing answers, that's a level of courage most men never reach. You don't talk, you don't explain, you don't justify, because the man who needs nothing is the man who attracts everything. She used to take your consistency for granted. Your loyalty felt like an open tab she never had to pay. But silence is a closed door. Now every post you don't make, every reply you don't send, every emotion you keep guarded, it makes her feel what she once wanted you to feel: uncertainty, confusion, anxiety. And now she's scrolling, stalking, waiting for a sign. But the man she once knew, he's gone. You didn't become cold, you became selective. You didn't stop feeling, you just stopped reacting. And that's what drives her insane. She's addicted to attention, but you became addicted to self-respect. And here's the paradox. The moment she starts losing her grip on your emotions, she starts chasing the man she thought would always be there. But guess what? You outgrew that version of yourself. The one who begged, the one who explained, the one who put her on a pedestal higher than his own peace. Let me make this clear. Silence doesn't mean doing nothing. Silence means doing everything, but for yourself this time. It means hitting the gym without posting about it. It means grinding on your goals without letting her see. It means healing without needing her to know. You build in the shadows, you evolve in silence, you master your emotions, not to impress her, but to protect yourself. And that's when you become untouchable. This is why she starts chasing, because she senses the power shift. She doesn't see desperation in your eyes anymore. She sees distance, she sees detachment, she sees a man who has returned to his mission. You were once a storm of emotions reacting to everything. Now you are the calm she can't shake, the absence she can't ignore, the peace that haunts her. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't need her to chase you anymore. You don't even care if she does, because the man who was waiting for her text, he's too focused to notice when it arrives. That's the true glow up. Not muscles, not money, mindset. When you stop giving her the performance of pain and give yourself the discipline of silence, that's when everything changes. Part 3. Obsession is born from detachment. She wasn't obsessed with you when you were texting her every morning. She didn't crave you when you were always available. But the second you pulled your energy back, the second you disappeared into your mission, something flipped inside her. And now you live rent-free in her mind. Let me tell you why. Because obsession doesn't grow from attention, it grows from absence. When you were predictable, she was passive. When you were consistent, she was cold. But when you became silent, she became curious. You see, detachment is the most powerful emotional weapon a man can wield. Not because it makes you cold-hearted, but because it makes you untouchable. You didn't change, you just stopped giving her your soul for free. And now that she has to earn what she used to take for granted, she's panicking. This is how obsession works. It starts with confusion, it deepens with curiosity, and it explodes with realization. The realization that she lost something rare, not because you left, but because you elevated. You're not the man who used to over-explain. You're not the man who used to double text. You're not the man who used to bend just to keep the peace. You are now the man she has no access to. That's the seed of obsession. Not your words, not your gifts, not your promises, but your emotional distance. Because when a woman no longer knows where she stands with you, when she no longer feels your energy, when she no longer has that grip on your emotions, her mind starts spinning. She doesn't know how to reach you. She doesn't know how to fix it. She doesn't even know if she can fix it. And in that uncertainty, she falls deeper. Here's the part nobody teaches you. Neediness kills attraction. Detachment gives birth to desire. You're not playing games. You're playing for your future now. You're not ignoring her. You're investing in yourself. And guess what? She feels it. She senses the shift. She tastes the distance, and it burns. Not because you're being cruel, but because you're finally unavailable to her inconsistency. You want to know when the obsession truly starts? It starts when she realizes you're no longer emotionally accessible. She'll try to reach you with breadcrumbs, a random hey, a story reply, a memory from months ago. She's testing the water. She wants to know if the old version of you still lives in there somewhere, but you're already gone. You've evolved. You don't bite the bait. You don't flinch. You observe and remain unshaken. That's not apathy, that's power. Detachment is discipline, it's self-respect in action. It's the refusal to let anyone disturb your inner peace. When she senses that you've built a life where her presence is optional, that's when she starts to chase. Because you're no longer the man waiting to be chosen, you're the man choosing himself, and that energy, it radiates. It can't be faked, it can't be manipulated, it's magnetic. It makes her look at you differently, it makes her remember everything she ignored. Let me hit you with some truth. Women don't chase men who are needy, they chase men who are busy, who are present, who are powerful in their own lane. The man who focuses on his purpose is dangerous because he's no longer tied to her approval, he's tied to his own evolution. And women crave what they cannot control. She had access to you, now she has a memory, and that memory becomes an itch she can't scratch, a wound she can't close. Because you never gave her closure, you gave her distance. You're not angry, you're not bitter, you're just gone. And that emptiness, that space you used to fill, it echoes louder than any words you could ever say. That's why she checks. That's why she lingers. That's why she stalks your page at 2 a.m. Because she's looking for something that no longer exists. And that, my brother, that's how obsession is born. Part 4. The mission-driven man is always out of her league. She didn't fall for you because you were emotional. She didn't want you because you were available. She was drawn to your fire, your focus, your ambition, your mission. But the second you dropped all that to revolve around her, you became forgettable. Let's get something clear. Women don't fall in love with men who chase them. They fall in love with men who chase purpose. Men who move like they're being watched by God himself. Men who build like the world depends on it. Men who disappear, not to run, but to rise. You were never supposed to make her your goal. She was supposed to witness your grind, not become the center of it. But when you made her the destination instead of the witness to your journey, you lost your edge. And when a man loses his mission, he loses everything. That's why you stopped attracting her. Not because you weren't good enough, but because you forgot your direction. You stopped hitting the gym. You stopped chasing your dreams. You stopped waking up with fire. You stopped being dangerous, and she felt it. She saw you trade your masculinity for approval. She saw you swap your empire for her attention. She didn't reject you. She rejected the version of you that forgot who he was just to hold on to her. But here's where everything changes. The second you get back on your mission, the second you stop prioritizing her feelings over your future, the second you lock in and build again, everything shifts. Suddenly you're not the man hoping she calls. You're the man she hears about through whispers. She doesn't see you online anymore. You're not liking her photos. You're not lurking in her story views. You're off the radar. And that silence, that absence, that mystery, it becomes her obsession. The mission-driven man is always out of her league. Not because he's arrogant, but because he's ascended. He's unreachable, not physically, but energetically. His energy is sacred now. His attention is earned, not given. His love is reserved for those who align with his purpose, not those who distract from it. When you were always available, she treated you like an option. But when you became mission first, you became rare. And rarity always commands respect. She'll start to ask around, have you seen him? What's he been up to? But no one really knows. Because you're not posting anymore. You're not announcing moves. You're becoming something she'll never understand. Here's what women won't tell you. They can't help but chase the man who chooses his path over their presence. It's not a trick. It's biology. It's instinct. It's evolution. The provider, the protector, the builder, the leader. That's the archetype she's wired to desire. But if you sacrifice your path to please her, you lose that essence. And the moment she senses that, you become just another nice guy. Let's bring in the Stoics for this one. Marcus Aurelius said, "Stop talking about what a good man is. Be one." That's the game. Not to explain your worth, but to embody it. To become so locked in, so dialed into your purpose, that she feels your absence like a storm that just left the city. She remembers the fire. She feels the shift. And suddenly, she's chasing something she used to have, but never appreciated. Now, it's out of reach. Now it's gone. Now you're building something too big for her to even comprehend. And let me say this clearly, the new version of you, he doesn't need her validation. He doesn't need her back. He doesn't even need closure. Because the man who wakes up before the sun, who trains his mind and his body, who works in silence and dreams in discipline, he becomes untouchable. And that's when she starts chasing, not because she misses who you were, but because she can't understand who you've become. Part 5. Reclaiming your time makes you unforgettable. You gave her your time, you gave her your focus, you gave her your presence. And she didn't just waste it, she expected it. She got used to you being there. She thought your attention was endless. But then, you stopped showing up. And now, she's confused. She's anxious. She's scrolling through old messages, trying to find where it all changed. Here's the truth. She didn't lose you. She lost access to the most valuable currency a man can offer, his time. Let me put it this way. Attention is energy, and energy is power. Where you place your attention is where you invest your soul, and for too long you invested in someone who couldn't even match your emotional down payment. You were showing up with your whole self, and she was treating your presence like a convenience. But now you've woken up. Now you understand your time isn't free, your attention isn't cheap, your energy is sacred, and when a man starts guarding those things, he becomes unforgettable. Let's talk about the mental switch. That exact moment where you stopped checking her page, stopped waiting on her replies, stopped overthinking every emoji and one-word answer. That moment, it was the beginning of your rebirth, because what you took back wasn't just your time, it was your identity. You stopped defining yourself by her love. You stopped chasing connection and started chasing growth, and that's when she noticed, not right away, but slowly, silently. She felt the shift, because energy doesn't lie. Let me break it down. The man who gives too much becomes background noise. The man who reclaims his time becomes a mystery, and mystery is what pulls her in. Not your words, not your affection, not even your love, but the fact that you're no longer a constant presence in her world. That's what haunts her, because women don't remember the man who begged. They remember the man who walked away without warning, the man who left without a fight, because he knew his value didn't need to be proven. It just needed to be protected. And now, your time has weight again. Your attention has value, because it's no longer thrown at people who didn't earn it. It's directed toward your goals, your health, your peace, your mission. You're not disappearing to get her back. You're disappearing to get yourself back. And in that silence, she starts to realize just how loud your presence used to be. Here's the paradox, man. The more you gave, the less she valued it. But the moment you withdrew, you became rare. Scarcity creates value, and nothing becomes more valuable than the man who doesn't need to be seen, but can't be ignored. That's what happens when you reclaim your time. You stop becoming a choice, you become a loss. Not a bitter one, a haunting one. The kind that lingers in her chest. When she sees you smiling in a photo, she's not part of anymore. The kind that cuts deep when she realizes you don't even think about her anymore. She had all of you. Now she has nothing. No text, no attention, no access. And that's when it hits her. He didn't ghost me. He evolved past me. She didn't get ghosted. She got left behind. Because real men don't vanish for revenge. They vanish for rebirth. And when they return, they're unrecognizable. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." You wasted enough time waiting for her to realize what you brought to the table. Now, you build the table. Now you invite no one. Now you eat alone in peace. Because you finally understand your time is not to be given to those who fumble your presence. And guess what? Now she's checking the phone. Now she's replaying old moments. Now she's wondering if she can still reach the version of you that no longer exists. And the answer is simple. She can't. Part 6. Indifference is power, and letting go is the ultimate shift. She doesn't start chasing when you ignore her. She starts chasing when you stop caring altogether, when your soul disconnects, when your energy pulls back so far, she can no longer feel your presence. That's when panic sets in, because she realizes you didn't pause, you detached. And a detached man? That's her worst fear. See, most men think the opposite of love is hate, but it's not. The opposite of love is indifference. No emotion, no reaction, no need for closure, just peace. A man who is unbothered. That man terrifies her. Because he no longer responds, he no longer waits, he no longer checks. And the silence isn't a strategy, it's a state of being. This is where the game flips completely. You're no longer playing chess, you've walked off the board. She sends a message, you don't reply. She posts for your attention. You scroll past. She lingers in your orbit. You don't even notice. Not because you're pretending, not because you're trying to be mysterious, but because you genuinely don't care anymore. And that's when she realizes she lost you forever. You used to hope she'd call. Now you hope she doesn't, because you're too focused. You used to replay her voice in your head. Now you don't even remember what it sounded like. Indifference is peace. Indifference is power. Indifference is the full circle moment of your healing. Not angry, not bitter, just done. And that kind of man, that's the one she can never get back. Let me tell you something. The world doesn't want you to realize indifference isn't weakness. It's the final form of strength. Because anyone can block, anyone can scream, anyone can play games. But the man who walks away and doesn't look back, that man becomes legend. The Stoics mastered this. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." And what's beyond your control? Her thoughts, her regrets, her choices. So what do? You let it all go. Not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. You stop trying to win her back. You start winning your own life back. You stop writing paragraphs. You stop arguing. You stop explaining what she lost. Because now she feels what she lost. And here's the thing. She thought she could come back whenever she wanted. She thought you'd always be there. But now she's looking into the space where your attention used to be. And all she sees is nothing. No warmth, no tension, no leftover affection, just stillness. She scrolls through your old pictures. She plays that song you both used to love. She stalks your page in silence, but it's not about rekindling anymore. It's about grieving the man who loved her deeply and now doesn't even think about her. You gave her your heart once, but now your heart is healed. Not because someone new came along, but because you came back to yourself. And that's when the regret hits her like a tidal wave. You're glowing, you're silent, you're unavailable, not as an act of revenge, but as a reflection of your evolution. She didn't expect you to become indifferent. She expected you to wait. She expected you to hold on, to check her story, to crumble the second she reached out. But when she finally did, you had already let go. And that's the part that'll haunt her forever. Not the silence, not the distance, but the fact that when she came back, you weren't there anymore. The version of you that would have done anything to keep her, he died in the silence. And the man who replaced him, he's untouchable. Part 7. The man she'll never replace. She didn't just lose a man, she lost the man. The one who saw her when she couldn't even see herself. The one who stayed solid in her chaos. The one who gave her love most people only pray for. But now, you're gone. Not just out of her life, out of her reach. And that's what breaks her. She thought you'd always be there. She thought your love was forever. She thought she could come and go as she pleased. But what she didn't realize was that every time she left, every time she ignored, every time she pulled away, you were building a version of you that no longer needed her. And that man, he's not coming back. She starts chasing, not because she changed, but because you did. You evolved. You transcended. You healed in silence and came back unrecognizable. Not colder, not harder, stronger, stronger in your vision, stronger in your values, stronger in your self-worth. And that strength, that's what she fell for in the first place. Only now, she can't have it. Because the truth is, she didn't lose you in the breakup. She lost you in the moment you decided to choose yourself, in the moment you stopped reaching out, in the moment you stopped begging to be seen, in the moment you stopped proving your worth and started living it. Let me make this clear. She's not chasing because she suddenly realized how amazing you are. She's chasing because she lost control. Control of your mind, your attention, your love. She's not mourning your body. She's mourning your presence, your soul, your devotion. And now she's scrolling through memories, trying to feel again what she once had easy access to. But you're not a memory, you're a movement, and movements don't go backward. The Stoics would say you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You realized it, you embodied it, and now you've become the kind of man whose silence says more than her loudest apology. She'll try, she'll reach out, she'll breadcrumb, she'll test the waters, but you won't be the same, because the man she wants now is the man she broke to create. And that version of you, he was born in pain, in solitude, In nights when you doubted everything but kept going anyway. You don't chase anymore. You don't react. You attract. Not because you're trying, but because you're aligned. Your body is stronger. Your mind is sharper. Your boundaries are sacred. You've become a man of presence, and presence is everything. Now, when you walk into a room, people feel your energy before you even speak. Your calm shakes people. Your silence commands respect. You've become rare, and what's rare becomes unforgettable. That's what she feels now. Not the regret of losing you, but the heartbreak of knowing you can't be replaced. You were the safe space, the rock, the rare one, the kind of man who meant every word, who didn't play games, who showed up when it mattered. But now you're showing up for yourself, and the love you once gave her, you've redirected it inward, into your body, your craft, your kingdom. And brother, that kingdom is thriving. Let me say this loud and clear. You don't win her back, you win by not wanting her back. Because what she needed to feel wasn't your love, it was your absence. And now that she's finally feeling it, you're already too far ahead. You were the lesson, you were the one that got away. Not because you ran, but because you outgrew the story. She kept trying to keep you in, and now, every man she meets after you, she compares. But none of them will have your soul. None of them will bring your peace. None of them will carry your fire. Because you weren't just a chapter, you were the whole book she never learned to read. This isn't about revenge. This is about redemption. This is about reclaiming your value, your focus, your fire. This is about rising, not so she regrets, but so you never look back. You don't need her to chase you. You don't need her to return, because now you've returned to yourself. And that's the ultimate power. Congratulations, King. You made it to the end. But this is just the beginning.